The morning sun struggled to shine through the thick gray clouds hanging above the ruined city. Crumbled towers, broken bridges, and dust-covered streets stretched for miles, silent and lifeless. Only the wind moved, whispering through hollow buildings like a lonely ghost. Captain Elias Ward stood on the edge of an old highway bridge, looking at what was once the capital of human civilization. His boots kicked small stones over the edge, and he watched them disappear into the fog below. The world had fallen quiet centuries ago, and now he was one of the few who still walked upon its surface. Behind him, his small exploration team was setting up scanners and drones. Their ship, the Horizon's Hope, rested half-buried in the dust nearby. The crew had come from the outer colonies, what was left of them, to search for something the old records called Project Guardian. No one knew what it truly was, only that it had been built in the last age of humanity before the Great Silence began. Dr. Lena Torres, the team's scientist, walked up beside Elias, brushing dust from her visor. "Readings are strange," she said softly. "Energy signatures deep underground. Old tech, very old, maybe thousands of years." Elias nodded. "Then that's our lead. We'll follow it." He looked down at the broken city once more. If Project Guardian was meant to protect humanity, maybe it's still waiting for us. Lena gave a hopeful smile, though her eyes showed doubt. Or maybe it failed. The captain didn't answer. He just checked his rifle out of habit and motioned the team to move out. They descended through collapsed tunnels and stairwells, guided by the faint signals from Lena's scanner. Hours passed as they moved deeper underground. The air grew thick with dust and the faint smell of rusted metal. Ancient walls bore strange marks, symbols of unity and defense. Some were faded banners showing the old Terran Federation emblem, a shining star surrounded by 12 wings. Lieutenant Omar, the team's engineer, whistled softly. "Imagine what this place looked like in its prime. Must have been something." Elias replied, "Let's just hope it still holds something worth finding." Finally, they reached a massive sealed door half buried under rock and dust. Its surface was smooth silver, untouched by time. In its center was a circular mark, a symbol shaped like a human handprint glowing faintly blue. Lena scanned it. "This is it. The entrance to Project Guardian. Can you open it?" Elias asked. "Maybe." She pressed her gloved hand against the glowing mark. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the floor began to tremble and a deep hum filled the air. Dust fell from the ceiling as gears hidden within the walls groaned to life after centuries of stillness. The circular door split apart with a heavy rumble, releasing a wave of cold, stale air. A long tunnel stretched ahead, lined with lights that flickered weakly as ancient power surged through them. Omar grinned. "It still works." "That's a good sign." Elias didn't smile. He raised his flashlight and stepped inside. The air was cold enough to make his breath mist. The walls were smooth metal, engraved with unreadable text. It felt more like walking through a tomb than a facility. At the end of the tunnel, they entered a massive chamber. The room was circular, and in its center stood a towering metallic figure, easily 15 meters tall. It was shaped like a man in armor, its surface made of shining alloy that reflected the team's lights. Around it were giant cables, machinery, and glowing panels that seemed to pulse faintly with life. Lena stared in awe. That's it. Project Guardian." The Guardian stood motionless, head bowed slightly as if asleep. Its hands were crossed over its chest, and on its forehead burned a faint, slow-beating light. Omar walked around the base, checking the machinery. "Power cells are ancient but not dead. This thing is alive in a way." Elias gazed up at the statue-like machine. "Can we wake it?" Lena hesitated. "If we activate the wrong sequence, we could overload the system or worse, damage its core, but if it truly is what the record said, it might remember humanity. It might help us rebuild." The captain gave a small nod. "Do it." The team worked for hours. They replaced burnt circuits, rerouted energy through portable generators, and carefully deciphered the old control language. Each keystroke echoed through the silent chamber. Finally, a low hum began to rise again. The cables around the Guardian glowed brighter. The floor vibrated. "Power flow is stable," Lena said. "We're ready." Elias took a deep breath. "Then wake it." Lena pressed the final sequence. The entire chamber filled with light. The Guardian's eyes, 2 golden circles, flared open, shining like small suns. The noise of ancient engines roared as it slowly lifted its head. The team stepped back, shielding their faces from the brightness. The giant's voice came like thunder mixed with sorrow. A human presence detected. System reboot complete. Where am I? Lena's voice trembled. You're safe. We found you. We're humans. The last of us. The Guardian turned its glowing gaze toward them. Humans? Its tone changed, almost confused. I was built to defend humanity. My creators. Where are they? Elias stepped forward cautiously. We don't know. The records say the old world ended thousands of years ago. We're survivors trying to rebuild what was lost. The Guardian was silent for a long moment. Then it looked at the ruined chamber around it. So much time has passed, it said softly. I was meant to awaken at their call, not this silence. Its massive hand clenched, metal groaning. Where is everyone? Elias lowered his head. Gone, he said simply. We don't know how or why. The Guardian's golden eyes dimmed slightly. Then humanity failed. No, Elias said firmly. We're still here. Small, yes, but alive. And if you're truly our Guardian, maybe you can help us survive. The giant tilted its head slightly as if studying him. You are not like the leaders I once served. You are fewer, weaker, yet you still stand. That means something. Elias met its glowing eyes. We've learned to endure. That's what humans do. For the first time, a faint sound came from the Guardian, something like a low sigh of thought. Then perhaps there is still hope. Lena carefully approached one of the side panels, scanning data flowing across the ancient screens. Captain, you should see this. It's recording something strange. Elias walked over. Lines of data streamed across the holographic display. Coordinates, messages, and images of distant stars. Among them, faint signals blinked like distant cries. What are those? He asked. Old transmission logs, Lena said. They look like distress calls from human colonies. Thousands of years old. The Guardian turned its head toward the display. Those were the voices of humanity's outer worlds. They called for help when the stars began to fall silent. I was supposed to answer them. But you didn't, Omar said quietly. I could not, the Guardian replied. They shut me down before the end came. They feared what I might do if I fought without their control. Elias frowned. Why would they fear you? You were built to protect them. The Guardian's golden eyes flickered. Because even protectors can destroy. They created me to be unstoppable, and in their final days they feared what they had made. Silence filled the chamber. The words felt heavy, ancient. Lena finally whispered, What ended them? The Guardian looked toward the dark tunnel. I do not know. But if I am awake again, perhaps it is time I find out. Elias watched the ancient machine as its systems continued to hum with life. He felt something stir within him, a sense of awe, fear, and hope all at once. For the first time in his life, he wasn't looking into humanity's past. He was standing beside it. The Guardian slowly straightened to its full height, towering above them all. You have my gratitude, Captain Elias Ward, it said. You have woken more than a machine. You have woken a promise. Elias smiled faintly. Then let's keep that promise. As they left the chamber, the Guardian's eyes glowed brighter, reflecting off the metallic walls. It turned toward the holographic stars once more. Humanity sleeps, it whispered to itself, but I will not rest until I find them. Outside, the storm above the ruined city began to clear. A single beam of sunlight broke through the clouds, shining down upon the ancient fortress where the Guardian had awakened, its light glinting off metal that had not seen the sun in millennia. Humanity's Guardian was awake again, and somewhere, deep in the silent void of space, something began to stir. The next morning, the ruins above the underground chamber glowed under the rising sun. The storm had passed, leaving the air sharp and clear. Captain Elias Ward stood near the entrance, looking toward the horizon where the broken skyline of the old world stretched far and silent. Behind him, the Guardian's voice rumbled softly through the comm system. Power levels are increasing. I am connecting to the remaining satellites. Elias turned. Satellites? You mean there are still some up there? Yes, the Guardian replied. Their signals are weak, but they exist. I can awaken them. Dr. Lena and Lieutenant Omar joined the captain, their eyes wide with amazement. The idea that ancient satellites, machines built by their ancestors, were still in orbit after so many centuries felt like a miracle. Lena spoke carefully. If you can reach them, we might finally learn what happened to the old colonies. I will try, the Guardian said. "But their memory cores may be damaged. Patience will be required." Elias smiled faintly. "We've waited a few thousand years already. A few more hours won't hurt." Inside the underground command room, ancient screens flickered back to life. The Guardian's towering figure stood still in the center of the room, energy flowing through its metallic veins like rivers of light. Holographic displays formed around it, rotating maps of old star systems, faded symbols of forgotten worlds. Lena leaned over a console, reading old data lines. This map shows hundreds of colonies. Some were close to Earth, others far beyond the known rim. But look, most of them are marked as silent. Omar frowned. Silent means destroyed. Or lost, she said quietly. Elias crossed his arms. Can you tell which one was the last to send a signal? The Guardian's eyes glowed brighter. Yes, Colony Epsilon Prime. Last recorded message 1,312 years ago. Elias nodded. Then that's our first lead. But the Guardian's voice grew deeper. The message was not complete. It ended with a warning. Lena's heart quickened. A warning? The Guardian raised one massive hand, projecting an old audio transmission into the air. The sound was faint, crackling with static, but a voice emerged, tired, afraid, yet still human. This is Epsilon Prime. To anyone. Still listening. The stars are dying. Something's coming. We can't stop it. Don't wake the Guardian. It will draw them back. Then silence. The team exchanged uneasy looks. Omar whispered, Don't wake the Guardian? That's exactly what we just did. Lena's voice trembled. What could draw them back mean? Elias looked up at the giant. Guardian, do you understand that message? No, it replied after a pause. My last memory before shutdown was the evacuation of the Sol defense network. Humanity faced a great danger, something from beyond. I was ordered to sleep until the threat passed. Elias frowned. But it never passed, did it? I cannot tell, said the Guardian. But if the stars died, then the enemy may have won. A long silence followed. Only the quiet hum of machinery filled the chamber. Then Lena looked at the glowing maps again. Captain, some of the outer beacons are still active. Weak but active. Omar leaned closer. You mean there might still be humans out there? The Guardian's golden eyes flashed. Possibly. I can send a pulse to confirm their status, Elias nodded. Do it. If anyone is alive, they deserve to know they're not alone. The Guardian extended both arms, and a sphere of golden energy formed between its hands. The lights in the chamber dimmed as power concentrated into a single pulse. Then with a sound like thunder underwater, the pulse shot upward, through the tunnels, through the clouds, and into the sky. High above the Earth, the ancient satellites received the signal. One by one, their dormant systems awoke, blinking with renewed light. Across the solar system, echoes of that pulse spread, through broken networks, forgotten stations, and dark places where machines still waited for their masters. For the first time in 1,000 years, humanity's presence touched the stars again. Omar stared in awe. You actually did it. The Guardian's eyes dimmed slightly as it processed returning data. Some beacons respond, but not all. Many are gone. Lena's voice softened. Even a few is more than we hoped for. The Guardian looked down at them. You have the courage of those who built me. Perhaps that is why humanity still survives. Elias gave a small smile. We just keep moving forward. It's what we do best. Later that day, the team camped near the surface ruins. The sky had turned orange with dusk. Elias sat beside a broken stone wall, cleaning his equipment while watching the distant horizon. The silence of the world still felt heavy, even after everything they had found. Lena joined him, holding a tablet filled with the new data. I think I found something, she said. One of the responding signals came from Mars. Elias raised an eyebrow. Mars? That place was abandoned before the Great Silence. Exactly, she said. But this signal isn't from an old beacon. It's new, fresh, Elias straightened. You mean there are people there now? I don't know, Lena admitted. But the Guardian confirmed it's human-coded. Before Elias could respond, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. Dust fell from nearby ruins. Omar shouted from the distance, Captain, you need to see this. They hurried back toward the underground entrance. The Guardian stood motionless, its golden eyes fixed on the sky. The chamber's displays showed moving objects, many small dots approaching Earth's orbit. Elias's stomach tightened. What are those? Unidentified vessels, the Guardian said calmly. They are not human, Lena whispered. Then what are they? I do not know. But they are responding to my signal. They have heard the Guardian's awakening. The captain clenched his fists. So the warning was true. Waking you drew something back. Perhaps, said the Guardian. But whatever comes, I will protect you. That is my purpose. The ground shook again, stronger this time. The skies above darkened as glowing streaks appeared, objects entering the atmosphere. The ancient world was no longer silent. Elias looked up at the stormy clouds. Guardian, can you fight? Yes, the giant answered. If I have energy. Omar ran to the console. Power output is already draining. We need a full reactor to maintain this thing. Lena's mind raced. There's an old energy core near the southern district. It's risky, but we can restore it. Elias turned to the Guardian. Hold them off if you can. We'll bring the power you need. The Guardian nodded slowly. Then go. And hurry. The team raced through the dead city, dust rising behind their boots. The wind grew stronger, carrying strange sounds like distant thunder mixed with metallic shrieks. The sun disappeared behind dark clouds. They reached the southern district where an old energy plant stood half-collapsed. Huge towers leaned at dangerous angles, their metal frames glowing faintly blue with unstable power. Omar examined the old control panels. We can reroute power directly through these lines. It'll overload the system, but it'll give the Guardian what it needs. Elias nodded. Do it. Lena watched the skies nervously. Strange lights moved among the clouds, fast and unnatural. They're getting closer, she said. Just a little longer, Omar muttered, sweating as he connected ancient cables and replaced broken fuses. Sparks flew, lighting his face in flashes. Finally, the main core roared to life, humming with deep power. Elias tapped his comm. Guardian, we're sending the energy now. Acknowledged, the deep voice replied. Receiving. Power restored. Far across the city, the Guardian opened its eyes again. The glow returned brighter than before, blazing like twin suns. The ground rumbled as it moved, breaking free from its resting place. It rose from the chamber, bursting through the surface with a sound like a mountain shattering. Dust and debris flew into the air as the massive figure stood tall above the ruins. High above, dark shapes pierced through the clouds, sleek black ships descending in formation. The Guardian lifted its arms and arcs of golden energy flowed through the air like rivers of light. I am the Guardian of humanity, it declared. You will not harm them. The ships responded by firing beams of light. Explosions rippled across the city. But the Guardian stood firm, its shield of energy deflecting the attacks. The ground glowed beneath its feet as it drew power from the old reactors. From a distance, Elias and his team watched in awe. The ancient machine moved like a living fortress, its every step shaking the earth. Lena whispered, It's protecting us, just like it was built to do. Elias nodded, his eyes reflecting the golden light. Then humanity's hope isn't lost after all. By nightfall, the sky burned with fire and light. The Guardian fought against the unknown invaders, each strike echoing across the empty world. The battle was far from over, but for the first time in ages, Earth was alive again with sound, movement, and the spirit of those who refused to fade away. And as the Guardian's eyes blazed across the horizon, Elias made a silent promise. Whatever waited beyond the stars, humanity would face it, not as shadows of the past, but as survivors of tomorrow. The night sky glowed red above the ruined city. Lightning streaked across the clouds as the Guardian stood tall among the shattered towers. Its golden eyes burned bright, watching the dark shapes circling overhead. The enemy ships, black and silent, moved like predators in the sky. Captain Elias Ward and his team hid inside an old building, watching from a broken window. The walls shook with every blast of energy that struck the Guardian's shield, Lena whispered. It's holding them off. But for how long? Cleus's eyes stayed fixed on the giant figure. As long as it takes, he said. That's what it was built for. Down below, the Guardian raised its arm. Golden light gathered at its hand, swirling like a miniature sun. With a single motion, it released the energy upward. The beam struck one of the dark ships, splitting it apart. Flames and metal rained from the sky. Omar shouted, "Direct hit!" The explosion's echo rolled through the city, shaking windows and scattering dust. For a brief moment, the night looked almost beautiful, fire and lightning mixing with golden light. But then more ships appeared from behind the clouds. Dozens of them. Elias clenched his fists. They're calling reinforcements. Lena turned toward the Guardian, her voice tight with fear. It can't fight them all. We need a plan. The Guardian's voice boomed through the comms. Do not fear. I am connected to the planetary defense grid. There are weapons hidden beneath the Earth's crust. If I can reach them, I can activate the shields, Elias replied quickly. Tell us what to do. The power core you restored is enough for me to fight, said the Guardian. But to awaken the defense grid, I need access to the central control node. It lies beneath the old Capitol Dome, 50 kilometers north. Lena looked at Elias. That's a long way. The roads are destroyed, Elias nodded. Then we'll fly. Omar, prep the shuttle. The engineer hesitated. Captain, the storm's bad. We might not make it. Elias placed a hand on his shoulder. We don't have a choice. If we fail, the Guardian falls, and then so do we. Omar gave a small nod and ran toward their ship. An hour later, the team's small transport craft, Horizon's Hope, lifted off the ground. The engines roared, scattering dust and debris. Through the window, Elias could still see the Guardian fighting below, golden energy flashing like a sun amid the darkness. Lena looked out silently. It's strange, she said. All these centuries humanity was gone, and now we're watching one of our own creations fight for us again. Elias smiled faintly. It never stopped waiting. As the shuttle rose higher, the radio crackled with the Guardian's deep voice. Be careful. The enemy may sense your movement. I will draw their attention. Omar steered the ship through the storm. The wind howled outside, lightning cutting across the sky. Suddenly, a dark shadow passed over them. Lena gasped. Incoming! A small black craft broke from the clouds, firing a beam of blue light. The shuttle shook violently. Alarms screamed inside the cabin. Elias grabbed the controls to steady the ship. Evasive maneuvers now! Omar twisted the craft sharply, dodging another blast. They're fast. I can't outrun them. Hold your course, the Guardian's voice thundered through the radio. A moment later, a golden beam shot upward from the ground, striking the enemy ship in midair. The craft exploded into fragments, scattering like sparks in the wind. Lena exhaled shakily. That was close. Continue north, said the Guardian. I will guard you as long as I can. The radio went silent again as the shuttle flew onward through the storm. Hours later, the team reached the northern ruins. The Capitol Dome, a colossal metal structure half buried under rock, stood before them like a sleeping mountain. The once great city around it had long crumbled into dust, but the dome still glowed faintly with a strange blue light. Omar landed the shuttle near a cracked platform. We made it, he said, relief in his voice. Elias looked up at the dome's vast doors. Let's move. Whatever's inside, that's where the control node should be. They stepped out into the cold air. The ground trembled faintly from distant explosions. The Guardian was still fighting far behind them. Lena scanned the entrance with her handheld device. There's a security system still active. It's old, but it's reading our biosigns. The doors rumbled open slowly, revealing a wide hallway lined with old statues, each one of a human figure holding a globe of light. The air smelled of metal and time. Omar muttered, "Creepy place." Lena walked ahead, her light shining across the walls. These statues, they represent the founders. Each one was a scientist or leader who helped build the Guardian network, Elias said quietly. They must have believed it would save them. They reached the central chamber, where a giant circular platform sat surrounded by ancient machines. In the center stood a console covered in dust. Its screen flickered faintly with life as they approached. Lena brushed the dust away and began typing on the panel. System's still responsive, but it needs an access code, Elias frowned. Try the Guardian's signature. Maybe it recognizes him. Lena entered the code sequence and waited. The screen blinked once, then displayed glowing text. Welcome. Guardian protocol authorized. A low hum filled the air as the floor beneath them began to light up. Holographic maps appeared in the air, massive planetary grids showing defense networks and shield generators. Omar whistled. It's all still here. The entire Earth defense system. Lena's hands shook slightly. I can't believe it survived this long. Elias pressed his comm. Guardian, we found the control node. It's active. The radio crackled with static, then the deep voice returned. Good. You must activate the defense code Omega Shield. That will awaken the planetary barrier. Lena typed quickly. The console glowed brighter. Lines of ancient code filled the air like fireflies. But suddenly the lights flickered. A strange vibration filled the room. Omar shouted, "Something's wrong." On the holographic map, a dark red signal appeared. Something moving through the planet's atmosphere. "They are jamming the signal," the Guardian warned. "They know what you are trying to do." Lena bit her lip. "I can override it manually, but it'll take time." "Do it," Elias ordered. "We'll cover you." Omar readied his weapon, watching the doorway. The wind outside began to howl louder, echoing through the metal halls. Minutes passed like hours. The console beeped again and again as Lena typed. Sparks jumped from the old wires. "Almost there," she said, voice trembling. "Just a few more seconds." A loud crash interrupted her. The dome's roof shook violently as something massive landed above. Dust fell from the ceiling. Elias shouted, "Lena, finish it." "They are above you," the Guardian's voice thundered. "I am coming." The sky outside turned gold for a brief moment. The team could hear distant thunder. The Guardian was moving toward them at incredible speed. Lena pressed the final key. "Done!" she cried. The holographic map exploded with light. A massive pulse spread outward from the dome, racing across the globe. From space, a bright ring of energy formed around the planet like a glowing shield. Omar stared in awe. "It's working. The shield is rising." But before they could celebrate, the roof above tore open. A black machine dropped through, landing with a deafening crash. It was tall, insect-like, with glowing red eyes and claws sharp as blades. Elias raised his weapon. "Lena, get behind me!" The machine moved fast, but before it could strike, a shadow fell across the chamber. The roof burst apart as the Guardian descended from the sky, landing with a thunderous impact. "You will not touch them," the Guardian said, its voice shaking the walls. It swung its arm, striking the enemy machine with enough force to shatter metal. The creature flew backward, crashing through a wall. Elias stared in awe as the Guardian stood over them, light pouring from its chest. "You made it," he said. "You called." "I came," the Guardian replied simply. Outside, the red sky began to fade as the planetary shield expanded fully. The dark ships above the clouds struck the barrier, their beams reflecting harmlessly away. Humanity's last defense was awake once again. The battle above slowly quieted. The enemy ships retreated into the darkness of space, leaving trails of smoke behind. The Guardian watched them go, golden eyes burning. "They will return," it said softly. "They always do." Elias looked up at it. "Then we'll be ready next time, together." The Guardian turned toward him. "Together," it agreed. For the first time in ages, the Earth was protected again, not by luck but by courage, memory, and the will of those who refused to vanish. And as the dawn rose beyond the shattered dome, the Guardian stood watch over the silent planet, waiting for the next challenge that would come from the stars. The morning sun cut through the clouds, casting long shadows across the ruined city. The Guardian stood at the edge of the Capitol dome, its golden eyes scanning the horizon. The planetary shield glowed faintly around the globe, a silent promise that Earth was no longer defenseless. Captain Elias Ward and his team watched from below. Their shuttle, Horizon's Hope, rested near the edge of the dome, engines humming quietly. The battle from the night before had ended, but the tension remained. "We cannot let our guard down," the Guardian's deep voice echoed. "The enemy knows of my presence. They will return." Lena adjusted her equipment nervously. "Captain, I've been scanning the satellite network. Some signals are still active. Faint, but definitely human-coded." Elias frowned. "You mean someone out there is still alive?" "Possibly," the Guardian replied. "But some signals are damaged or incomplete. They may not have survived long." Omar, ever the skeptic, shook his head. "After all this time, how can any human still exist?" "Humanity endures," said the Guardian. "Even after the longest night, life finds a way." The Guardian's chest panel opened, projecting a holographic star map. Tiny points of light flickered across the display, each representing an old colony. Many were marked silent. Others glowed faintly, remnants of transmission still pulsing after centuries of neglect. "These signals are distress beacons," the Guardian explained. "They indicate human survivors. We must locate them." Elias studied the map. "Where should we start?" "The strongest signal originates from Epsilon Prime," the Guardian said. It is a world once colonized near the edge of the old Federation. The beacon's transmission is incomplete, but it repeats continuously. Whoever sent it is still alive, or has been until recently. Lena's eyes widened. That's the same colony mentioned in the old warning. The Guardian's golden eyes flickered. Yes, it is possible they foresaw my awakening and left this signal intentionally. They warned me not to come, yet I must. Humanity must be found, Elias nodded. Then we leave for Epsilon Prime immediately. Omar, prep the shuttle. Lena, bring the scanners. As they boarded Horizon's Hope, the Guardian's towering figure loomed over the city. Its voice rumbled through the ship's comms. I will accompany you. My energy reserves are sufficient for travel across the system, and my presence will protect you. Lena glanced at Elias. You sure we want a 15-meter-tall machine on this shuttle? He shrugged. We don't have a choice. If it's going to protect us, we'll deal with the cramped space. The shuttle lifted off slowly, engines roaring. Dust and debris swirled around the dome as the Guardian followed, hovering beside the craft. Its golden light reflected off the clouds, and the sight filled the crew with awe. Omar muttered, Still can't believe we're doing this. The journey through space was long and silent. Stars stretched past the windows, distant suns flickering in the void. The Guardian floated beside them, its massive form filling the cockpit's limited view. Epsilon Prime lies 33 light-years from Earth, the Guardian said. The journey will take time, but the hyperdrive systems are operational. Lena nodded, monitoring the scanners. The beacon signal is weak. It might have drifted in orbit, or someone may be transmitting from the surface. Elias looked at the Guardian. Once we arrive, what should we expect? Unknown, it said simply. If survivors remain, they may be cautious. They have endured fear and isolation for centuries. Approach carefully, the captain sighed. We don't have time for caution. If they're still alive, they need us and you. Days passed as the ship traveled through the dark space between stars. The Guardian occasionally scanned the surrounding void, sending pulses of golden energy to detect threats. Each time, faint readings appeared, small debris, derelict ships, sometimes bursts of energy from long-abandoned stations. One night, as Elias slept in a small compartment, the Guardian's voice rumbled softly through the comms. Captain, I detect something unusual near Epsilon Prime. The signal is changing. It is no longer automatic, Elias sat up instantly. Changing how? The pulse is responding to me, the Guardian said. It is as if someone or something is aware of my approach. Lena ran to the console. You mean the beacon is alive? Someone is actively transmitting? Yes, I recommend caution, the Guardian said. They may test us before revealing themselves. Elias nodded. Prepare the landing protocols. We don't know who we'll meet or what we'll face. Epsilon Prime emerged on the view screen. A barren, rocky world with a thin, hazy atmosphere. Cities were in ruins, crumbled under centuries of neglect. But scattered among the wreckage were tiny green patches, small settlements that had survived against all odds. Omar pointed. Look at that, people. Or what's left of them. Lena zoomed in on the scanners. There's life. Not many, but definitely human. And they're moving. They've spotted our approach. The Guardian's golden eyes focused. They are cautious but intelligent. Likely they have adapted to isolation. Their defenses are modest, but they understand survival. Elias took a deep breath. All right, let's land. The shuttle descended carefully, engines stirring dust and loose rock. The Guardian hovered above, projecting a golden shield to protect the craft from sudden attacks. As the shuttle touched the ground, a group of humans appeared at the edge of a rocky plateau. They were ragged but alert, holding rudimentary weapons. Children peeked from behind shelters, eyes wide with fear. Elias stepped forward slowly. We are humans, he called out. We come in peace. The Guardian has come to help you. The group hesitated, then a man stepped forward, tall with gray-streaked hair and sharp eyes. The Guardian? He asked cautiously. We thought it was a legend. A story parents told their children to keep hope alive. I am real, said the Guardian, voice resonating across the plateau. I was built to protect humanity. You are not alone. The man stared for a long moment. It's been centuries. Why now? Elias stepped closer. Because we found it. And we need to find every human that still survives. You're the last link to your world. Help us reconnect the colonies. The man lowered his makeshift weapon slowly. I am Jaren. These are the survivors of Epsilon Prime. We thought we were alone. You're saying... There are others? Yes, the Guardian replied. I detected other signals. We will locate them. You will not be forgotten. Jaren nodded, eyes glistening. Then, we will help you. Inside the settlement, the Guardian hovered above as the humans shared their story. Small settlements had survived, hiding from an unknown enemy that had destroyed the larger colonies. They had kept the beacon alive, sending warnings into space, but none had returned. We feared awakening the Guardian, Jaren said. The story said it was too powerful. Too dangerous if uncontrolled. Lena nodded. It was built to protect, not destroy. And now it is awake. We need you to trust it, and us. The Guardian's golden eyes swept the settlement. I will defend you. I will find the others. But I need information about your colonies and the paths you have taken. Jaren hesitated, then spoke slowly. We kept records. Maps, old coordinates. It's all here. I will show you. Hours later, with holographic maps spread across the plateau, the Guardian and humans began to plan. Old colonies, lost settlements, drifting ships, all could now be found. The first step was recovery. Gather the scattered humans, protect them, and begin to rebuild the network of civilization. We have much work to do, the Guardian said. The stars remember humanity. We must not forget ourselves. Elias smiled at Lena and Omar. We've found them. And the Guardian? It's more than a machine. It's hope, Lena nodded. Humanity might be small, but it's still alive. That's all that matters. Then we begin, the Guardian said, voice resonating across the barren landscape. We will restore what was lost. The hunt for humanity begins anew. Outside, the twin moons of Epsilon Prime rose over the plateau. Light reflected off the Guardian's metal armor, golden and warm. For the first time in centuries, the survivors of humanity felt they were not alone, and somewhere in the distance, the stars waited ready to test them again. The stars above Epsilon Prime burned cold and bright. The small settlement glimmered beneath the twin moons, and the Guardian's golden eyes shone across the plateau. The humans who had survived the centuries of silence had begun to gather courage, hope returning to their faces. Captain Elias Ward stood beside Jaren, watching the Guardian hover above the plateau. The metal giant's massive form seemed even taller under the moon's glow, light reflecting from its armor like a living beacon. The enemy will not remain in the shadows forever, the Guardian said. They are aware of my presence and of humanity's resurgence. Lena checked the scanners again. The ships we saw before, they are moving faster. Dozens of new vessels, larger than the ones we fought over Earth. Omar swallowed hard. So we're going to fight them. Again, Elias nodded. We don't have a choice. If we don't stop them, humanity is finished. Then we prepare, said the Guardian. I will defend the settlements while you organize the survivors. We must unite or we will fall separately. The humans worked tirelessly over the next hours. They repaired old shuttles, built signal relays, and shared information about other colonies. Jaren's people had kept maps, coordinates, and records of drifting survivors scattered across the system. We can reach them, the Guardian said. But time is limited. The enemy approaches quickly. Elias rubbed his face. Then let's split the work. Lena, help coordinate the survivors. Omar, prep the ships for transport. I'll stay with the Guardian. Together we move fast, Lena nodded. We have to warn them before it's too late. I will accompany you, the Guardian said, its voice resonant. My presence ensures survival but also draws attention. Be prepared. The humans boarded the remaining shuttles. The Guardian rose above the plateau, energy glowing along its arms and chest. A silent promise that none would fall without a fight. As the fleet of small ships and the Guardian moved toward the distant colonies, the void of space around Epsilon Prime seemed alive. Red glows appeared at the edges of the system, ships emerging from the dark. Their shapes were sleek, black, and menacing, with energy pulses that matched no human technology. Elias gritted his teeth. They're waiting for us. They have sensed the Guardian, the giant said. They underestimated humanity before. That mistake will not be repeated. Lena monitored the scanners. Some colonies are sending signals. Weak but alive. We can reach them, but the enemy may intercept. Then we move swiftly, the Guardian said. The protection of humanity depends on speed and courage. Both you have, Captain Elias Ward. Elias glanced at the small fleet. Then let's bring our people home. The first colony they reached was a small station orbiting a moon. Its structures were patched with metal and old technology, barely holding together. Lights flickered as sensors detected approaching ships. A voice came over the comms, shaky but alert. "Who's there? Identify yourself." Ilias spoke calmly. "We are survivors of humanity, and we come with the Guardian, our protector. You are not alone." The humans on the station hesitated, then opened their gates. Children and elders, engineers and scavengers poured out to see the Guardian hovering nearby. Golden light washing over the barren station. "You are safe," the Guardian said. "I am here to protect humanity. We must unite before it is too late." Lena and Omar helped organize the newcomers, showing them how to reconnect their systems to the main network. Messages and signals began to flow, linking survivors across the star systems. Slowly, hope spread like fire across the colonies. Meanwhile, the enemy fleet was gathering in the dark void. Their ships were enormous, far larger than the Guardian's previous encounters. Thousands of vessels, sleek and deadly, moved as one, calculating, patient, waiting for the right moment to strike. Elias looked at the holographic map the Guardian projected. "How do we stop them?" "We're outnumbered." "Numbers are irrelevant," the Guardian said. "They do not understand the human spirit. They cannot comprehend what it means to fight not for survival alone, but for hope, for each other." The Guardian extended its arms, and golden energy rippled outward, scanning the approaching enemy ships. Each pulse carried not just power, but an awareness of strategy, a preparation for the battle to come. "They will test us first," the Guardian said. "Prepare for contact." Omar loaded weapons on the shuttles. "Then let's make sure they learn quickly." The enemy fleet struck first. Beams of dark energy slashed across space toward the human ships. The shields of the shuttles flickered and strained. "Guardian now," Elias shouted. The giant moved with incredible speed, placing itself between the fleet and the fragile human ships. Energy flared from its arms, forming barriers, deflecting beams, and creating massive blasts that shattered enemy vessels. The void of space lit up like a storm of gold and dark energy. Lena monitored the transmissions from the scattered colonies. "They're seeing it! Survivors are coming forward, joining us." "The shield is giving them courage," Elias grinned. "Humanity isn't just surviving, we're rallying." "Yes," the Guardian said. "This is what they could not measure. The will to endure, the courage to unite, the hope to continue. These are stronger than any weapon they bring." The battle raged across space. Enemy ships charged again and again, but each time, the Guardian's shields held. Small human vessels moved in tandem, protecting the most fragile shuttles and evacuating survivors from the endangered colonies. Hours passed. The Guardian's energy burned brightly, its golden light guiding the human fleet. The enemy, powerful as they were, began to falter under the combination of human cunning and the Guardian's immense power. "Captain," the Guardian said, voice calm but firm, "you must take the survivors to safety. I will draw their focus. It is time to finish this." Elias hesitated. "Are you sure?" "Yes," the Guardian replied. "I am built to endure. I am built to protect humanity. This is my purpose." With a nod, Elias ordered the survivors to follow a safe jump route toward a hidden system. Shuttles and small ships moved quickly, leaving the battlefield while the Guardian faced the enemy head-on. The Guardian unleashed a final surge of energy, a golden wave that spread across the enemy fleet. Ships were torn apart, engines exploding, weapons collapsing. The alien vessels faltered, then retreated into the darkness of space, leaving behind only wreckage. Elias watched from his shuttle as the Guardian stood among the debris, golden eyes shining. It had endured, it had fought, and it had won. "It is done for now," the Guardian said. "But humanity must remain vigilant. The stars are vast and full of unknown dangers. You must prepare always." Lena wiped her eyes. We actually did it." Omar nodded slowly. "Thanks to the Guardian," Elias smiled. "No, thanks to us all. Humanity survives because we refuse to give up." The survivors reached safe colonies, reconnecting systems, sharing stories, and passing messages to those who remained in hiding. Across the stars, humanity's presence grew stronger, once small and fragile, now united with the Guardian as its protector. At the center of it all, the Guardian stood watch. Its eyes scanned the heavens, aware of every movement, ready to defend, ready to guide. "We have begun," it said quietly. "Humanity will endure. We will find all who remain and we will restore what was lost. The stars remember you, and so do I. Elias looked up at the towering figure beside the shuttle. We're not alone anymore. Not ever. The Guardian's golden light pulsed gently. No, never again. And in the silent void between the stars, a new age of hope began. Humanity, small yet unbroken, stood tall once more. And wherever the stars stretched, the Guardian's light followed. A promise to all who survived. As long as courage exists, humanity will endure. The twin moons of Epsilon Prime rose over the horizon. The golden glow of the Guardian reflected across the land, a beacon of hope, unity, and strength. The survivors gathered, looking at the metal giant that had fought for them, and for the first time in centuries they smiled, not just in relief, but in certainty. Humanity would rise again and the stars would remember.